and welcome to NAFDAC and Your Health. Every week on the program, we provide you with insightful information about NAFDAC's activities aimed at protecting the health of Nigerians. I am your host, Tosin Omolaja. Abuse and misuse of drugs is a critical problem we are faced with in Nigeria today. Many young people and indeed older people have been caught in the web of drug abuse in Nigeria. According to the National Drug Use Survey of 2018, the number of drug users in Nigeria is estimated at 14.4%. This means that about 14.3 million Nigerians aged between 15 and 64 years have abused drugs or are addicted to drugs. These alarming statistics have therefore set curbing the menace of drug abuse top of the agenda for the Director-General of NAFDAC.
Why curbing drug abuse is so important? Because drug kills. Any drug can kill, depending on how well you use it, if you misuse it. But when you abuse drug, you get addicted. Some narcotics, I'm talking of narcotics now. This is a huge problem in Nigeria. I never realized that until I took this job. Now, we have heightened up our vigilance. We are seizing more tramadol now. The thing about it is that they bring tramadol, maybe 7/8 of a container, and add regulated products or registered products, so which is under our mandate. So we end up also seizing the container containing tramadol and unregistered products. But it is also with the cooperation of the CG. It is with the cooperation of the CG of Customs. Without them, we would not be able to. And then we had another 5 of the containers that turned back when they knew the port was hot. Now we have intercepted those 5 containers outside our coast, but we bring them in. The future Nobel laureates of Nigeria will never attain to that status once they are addicted. The future presidents of Nigeria will never amount to that when they are on drugs. It is the destruction on the society. Why is this so important? Because of our own national security. But it starts from the family to the entire communities. When I came, I fostered a relationship that few months earlier, I started with Young Pharmacist Group of Nigeria. And what we then did was to start NAFDAC's drug abuse awareness campaign. So NAFDAC is not just writing regulations and citing people or sanctioning people. We are getting into the community. Anytime I see young people, do not abuse drug, because hopelessness is written all over. Death is one of them. Nigeria cannot be greater than its youth. It doesn't matter if we do vigil from now till eternity. No. So it is multi-sectoral issue. It's not just NAFDAC issue. It is education. It is joblessness and whatnot. And So, but we are fighting the menace of drug abuse.
The agency has put several policies in place to ensure that medicines and narcotics don't find their way into the hands of people who are likely to abuse them and cause harm both to themselves and to the society at large.
What we do in the Director of Narcotics and Controlled Substances is to ensure that manufacturers of controlled substances, most especially the narcotic drugs, the psychotropic substances, and even the illicit chemicals that are used in the production of illicit drugs, are made available for medical and scientific purposes. And to do that, we license manufacturers whose products NAFDAC has registered for medical purpose, and we also ensure that they have license to import those materials in the quantities that we have approved, and they also apply for permit to clear the consignment when it comes in, so that the directorate can monitor the utilization, because sometimes it's not just bringing it in, because there are a lot of issues involved. Diversion normally is an intentional act, mostly by people who are in charge of the operation. So you really need to ensure that your chances of detection of incidences of diversion and illicit use are enhanced. And that's why we have a division of inspection and monitoring that goes after all the licensed importers and manufacturers utilizing controlled substances.
The rate of drug abuse in the country is almost 3 times the global average, which stood at 5.6% as at 2017. And there are several societal issues responsible for this. One of such is the easy access to medicines that can become addictive and therefore destructive.
It should not surprise you, because you cannot sell drugs in the open market. Drugs are supposed to be potent poisons, potent active chemicals that can themselves put the life of the individual at risk. They are not ordinary articles of commerce. And that is why you have professionals and you have a licensing process for people who must deal with drugs. For instance, if you don't have a license to operate a pharmacy, that pharmacy is an illicit or is an illegal facility. You are not supposed to stock, you are not supposed to sell drugs in that facility. But when you take drugs to Idumota market, it becomes like any other article of commerce. So you are faced with the situation that people who are not licensed are dealing with drugs to sell. People who are not licensed are dealing in the distribution of drugs. And then the most serious aspect is when you look at the provisions of a prescription, for instance. If you look at the Food and Drug Act, it classifies medicines broadly into 2 classes: prescription-only medicines and over-the-counter or the OTC drugs. Now, for the OTC drugs, the legal premise is there is informed consent. In other words, the person coming to ask for such product knows to some extent the consequences of what the drugs can cause, and is ready to accept that. So the seller is covered. Now, when you look at the prescription-only medicines, it tells you that, look, you need a learned intermediary, because the drugs themselves, the active ingredients, are potent chemicals that can put the life of the individual at risk, and that, in fact, you cannot assess yourself and prescribe for yourself what you need. And that's why they say, okay, these are prescription-only medicines, so you need a physician who is supposed to prescribe the dosage regimen, the dose, the interval of use, the duration of use, and then if you need to go for a refill, you have to go back to him to reassess you again. If he's satisfied that, well, the first regimen has done what is expected, you are off the drugs. But in this country, you walk into a pharmacy, you can buy anything, regardless of whether it's a prescription-only medicine or whether it's an OTC product. So when you now allow people easy access to drugs, it causes a lot of problems. You go to the hospitals, for instance, issues of pain medication. We have developed guidelines with technical expert groups, with the Federal Ministry of Health, that have been launched and we have disseminated so that people can begin to manage pain effectively. In fact, there was this requirement to even review the curriculum of the schools of medicine, pharmacy, and nursing services so that people understand exactly what they need to do with those class of products. We have also built capacity, the distribution, even in the absence of the coordinated distribution centers. The government has approved designated narcotic stores in all the zones. So at least we know exactly where these are supposed to go. And from there, we can monitor. And we have designated focal pharmacies, designated desk officers in all those facilities. So as soon as we have the product, we know exactly where it's even going to go. We might even say, look, let any product meant for a particular location be so coded that if you look at the batch code, you can tell where it is coming from and where it's supposed to be, so you can track it.
Because of the several initiatives NAFDAC and indeed other government organs and agencies had put in place over the last 2 years, which includes interagency collaborations, international synergies, and the infusion of technology, there has been a significant reduction in the rate of drug abuse in the country. According to the 2019 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, the prevalence of opioid use disorder decreased to 1.6 million from 2.1 million in 2018. Pain reliever misuse is trending downwards among young people between the ages of 12 to 25 years. How prescription stimulant misuse also trended downward in individuals aged 18 and 25 years. Nevertheless, this is an evolving battle, and the agency is not resting on its oars.
In the recent time, there have been a decline in the frequency of interception of narcotics. However, rather than coming through the seaports now, they are turning it to a briefcase importation, where they come through the airports or they send them as part of cargo through the airport. With intelligence, we have apprehended quite a lot, and we will still not relent our efforts. We are not closing our eyes to the seaports, but it's becoming more prevalent at the airports now, bringing narcotics and other opioids through the airport rather than the usual seaport.
We'll take a short break now. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching NAFDAC and Your Health. A number of strategies have been put in place to help in tracking shipments, including setting up cutting-edge intelligence units in the Ports Inspection Directorate.
We have strengthened our intelligence at the seaports, as well as our efforts at ensuring that all this could not happen again. One of such is the integration of NAFDAC on the platform, on the trade portal platform fully, which now makes us to see some of the consignments that are coming. And the Intelligence and Monitoring Unit of Port Inspection Directorate is a small unit, but they do so much work there where they could actually track a departure of a container from anywhere in the world, and they monitor it up till when it gets to Nigeria. One interesting thing that we have discovered actually is the fact that when they are leaving the shore of the country where the consignments are being shipped, they will do correct manifestation, correct bill of lading. But when they arrive in Nigeria, you see that what was manifested as pharmaceuticals from the country of departure will now come to Nigeria and will become something else like computer accessories, plumbing materials, or something very funny, or general merchandise. And the moment we see such, what the Intelligence and Monitoring Unit does is that they will immediately suspect that for you to have changed your manifest on arrival, that means you have something. And this has really helped us a lot. This seems to be a challenge to me. I couldn't understand it, but it happens from time to time. But we are also up to the game because our Intelligence Monitoring Unit, they do their work 24 hours every day, and this is just my joy.
Technology has also played a significant role in tracking and monitoring shipments.
With the identification of a software that we use online to track the shipments of consignments that were destined for Nigeria. And through this tracking, we're able to monitor the movement of those containers. And when we realized that even the importers had gained information that we were monitoring them, we're able to see how they went about transloading those containers on the IC from ship to ship in order to change the identifying vessel that should bring the container into Nigeria. And through this, we're able to trace those containers from Mumbai in India to Singapore to Cotonou in Benin Republic. And sometimes they get to Nigeria before they, when they realize that we are onto them, before they offload the container, and they see that we have already written a detention notice to the Nigerian Customs Service at the port, they will put the shipment back on the ship and transfer them to Ghana. The Ghanaian counterpart were also waiting for them. Eventually, some of them were dropped in Cotonou. And because of our relationship with the government in Benin Republic, we were able to intercept some of such containers. Also, we had input from the Interpol, International Police, through exchange of information, and this helped a great deal. And overall, we are successfully intercepted in the past 2 years over 80 containers of tramadol. And like it was relayed and disseminated publicly sometime last year, the street value was in excess of 300 billion naira. Earlier this year, before the onset of the corona pandemic, we realized that these importers, they changed from tramadol to tapentadol. That happens to be a similar active ingredient to tramadol with same effect. And as God will have it, we're able to intercept this consignment by the time they began to enter into our ports.
Time now to bring you our weekly bulletin on NAFDAC's activities over the last week. That's on NAFDAC Update.
NAFDAC and Federal Ministry of Health launched the Nigerian Pharmaceutical Traceability Strategy. The Nigerian Pharmaceutical Traceability Track and Trace Strategy was officially launched on the 8th of October 2020 at the Federal Ministry of Health in Abuja. The traceability strategy is designed to mitigate the current chaotic drug distribution system in Nigeria. The Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Osagi Enahire, was on hand to launch the strategy document.
The challenge of poor visibility in the pharmaceutical supply chain in Nigeria necessitates adoption of innovative measures and complementary partnerships to disrupt the cycle of wastages from expired commodities, shortages, stockouts, infiltration of substandard and falsified products, diversion and pilfering of products in the health sector.
He also inaugurated the steering committee for the implementation of the traceability strategy. Members of the steering committee include the Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria, Association of Food, Beverage and Tobacco Employers of Nigeria, Association of Pharmaceutical Importers of Nigeria, Africa Resource Center, Federal Ministry of Health, GS1 Nigeria, NAFDAC, Nigerian Customs Service, and so on.
These are all stakeholders across the public and private sector organizations who provide strategic direction, decision-making authority, resource mobilization, and oversight of implementation activities to achieve the strategic objectives outlined in the Nigerian Pharmaceutical Traceability Strategy document. The committee will be co-chaired by the Director of Food and Drug Services of the Federal Ministry of Health and the Director, Drug Regulation and Regulatory Affairs of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. On behalf of the government of Nigeria, I now hereby launch Nigeria National Pharmaceutical Traceability Strategy. Thank you very much.
The The chief executive of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, in her remarks, said that the traceability strategy highlights NAFDAC's priority objectives.
It is a daunting task in the face of the chaotic drug distribution system currently existing in Nigeria. The falsification and diversion of health commodities such as HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, COVID-19 therapeutics, and soon vaccines carry very serious health and economic consequences. The consideration of these consequences vis-a-vis the mandate of NAFDAC to regulate and control, among other things, the distribution of drugs, vaccines, rapid diagnostic test kits, and other regulatory products is a sufficient motivation to adopt and implement traceability or track and trace strategy. The Nigerian Pharmaceutical Traceability Strategy being launched today presents NAFDAC's priority objectives that guided the development of a comprehensive operational plan. It will contribute to strengthening the existing regulatory and legal frameworks required to publish and enforce a traceability regulation and related guidelines. The launching of this strategy document is the first step in positioning Nigeria to be a leader in driving traceability of pharmaceuticals in Africa. The only country that is going through traceability pathway, it is Ethiopia. So we are the second in Africa. NAFDAC is committed to the implementation of pharmaceutical traceability in Nigeria as part of the regulatory strengthening and underscoring of its mandate. As part of the implementation, NAFDAC has developed a 5-year traceability plan toward achieving supply chain visibility. This will strengthen its pharmacovigilance and post-marketing activities against the scourge of substandard falsified medical products by the end of the year 2024. The agency has also established traceability office or traceability desk and a technical working group to drive the activities in the 5-year plan.
NAFDAC Kaduna office looted. The chief executive of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, has expressed shock over the looting and destruction of NAFDAC property in Kaduna State. According to the report made available by NAFDAC to the Kaduna State government, items looted from the facilities include expired, prohibited, and dangerous drugs. Persons who consume such drugs are at great risk of serious illness and death. During the attack, hoodlums carted away seized fake, illicit, and counterfeit drugs and beverages. Some of the affected offices include NAFDAC warehouse belonging to the Investigation and Enforcement Directorate, as well as the Training and Research Institute for the Northern Region and the Federal Capital Territory. The drugs were seized from illicit drug dealers and are meant to be destroyed. While the agency remains thankful that there were no loss of lives, residents of Kaduna State are hereby notified to be vigilant and careful about the sources of the food and medications they take at this time and where they buy them from to avoid grave dangers. That's it on NAFDAC Update. You've been updated.
That's our package for the week. Join us again next week, same time, same station, as we bring you a fresh edition. In the meantime, if you have questions, comments, or inquiries, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700-162-3322. For complaints, please call 0800-162-3322 or email nafdac@nafdac.gov.ng. Remember that safeguarding the health of the nation is our collective responsibility. Let's stay vigilant and report suspicious activities of fake and unwholesome food and drugs or activities that create them in our areas. Till next week, stay safe.